Welcome to another episode of the Terri and Frank Show, where recently we're covering people unproductive. All of these really awkward, not fun, sometimes very damaging personality types that you run into in your career. Sometimes they're coworkers, sometimes they work for you. It's good to know that these people exist, good to know you can categorize them, and good to know what to do about them, because you may very well be working with one of these now or down the road. So today, guess what? We're going to cover Hank the hero syndrome at work. You may not have seen them. It's a rarer personality type, but boy, they can be super damaging. I've worked
Yes.
with a few of these people, and so has Terri. So
Yeah.
we got some good stuff to share. And Terri, before we get into it, we're going to be talking about low EQ Larry on the next episode, which I think is going to be fun because
Yeah.
these are blunderous people, blunderous
Constantly stepping in it, don't even
oh,
realize that they have poo on their
idiots. Yeah.
yeah, they don't get it at all.
No, they don't get it all. So that could be a real fun episode. You might want to tune in next week. But Hank the hero. Let's talk about this for a minute. The hero syndrome.
Yeah.
This is a real phenomenon. You've all heard about the guy that starts the fires to put them out. It's rare amongst police. There's these angels of death or nurses that give people too much medication. Sometimes they're psychopaths. They want to kill them. Sometimes they just want to be there to save them.
Right.
And it's rare that people talk about these personalities in the workplace, but they do exist, and they're the worst form of esteem-seeking people. They can't get enough. But Tara, what have you seen with them?
Yeah. So I've seen more of the flavor of someone setting like little small fires. So they
Uh-huh.
just kind of make, I've been in IT for more than 25 years now. So most of what I've seen has come out of the IT environment where somebody just sets a small little fire, they change some software in production, make just a tiny little error so that they, once, of course, the system fails, then everybody gets in, they're scrambling, trying to figure out what's wrong. Everything was just perfectly fine the day
Yep.
before or hours before. And then all of a sudden you get this bomb exploding and people start scrambling. They're trying to figure out what's wrong. And the one person comes in and they're like, oh, let me try this. And then they go
Yeah.
and they correct the problem that they caused. And now they look like the savior.
Oh, yeah.
They
And the
just
first
came
time
in
you're
and
like,
saved the day.
wow, what? I'm so glad this person's here. And
Right,
then the third or fourth time, you're like, wait a minute, why are they always there to save the day, right?
right. Why do they always just happen to know the one thing that needs to be done to fix the problem? And it's because
Yeah.
they made the problem. So of course they know how to fix it. But it's also that person that wants to try to make it seem like they're more productive than they are. So if they're not really doing anything, they don't really have a lot going on, this is a way for them to get in the spotlight.
Yeah.
So now I can come in and save the day. I can be the hero of the day. I know exactly what to do. See, everybody else doesn't know what I know.
Yeah.
It's a way of kind of, it's an illusion, basically. It's an illusion of trying to make yourself seem more knowledgeable, more important than you really are. And, as we're talking about these folks, you may not have worked with someone, but that someone might be you. So
Yeah.
you really have to think about it from that perspective too. Am
Good
I not
point.
identifying that because maybe I'm the person that did that? So, that's just
Yeah.
something else to think about.
And if you're the one doing it, stop it.
Yes,
You're
it
going
is
to get
very
caught. Believe
damaging.
me, these people always get caught. That is the
Yeah.
one thing that I can say for sure. I
Yeah.
remember years ago, we had, I took over this area. It was at Merrill Lynch. And the old boss that was running the area always had his pets, these people that got treated special. And there was this one guy, he was a very wacky Vietnam vet, not to suggest they're bad people. This guy just happened to be a little whacked out. And he had this incredible expertise for some CICS mainframe internal stuff. And he was always, working on these programs, and things would fail. And if Joe wasn't around, no one knew how to fix it. So, error number one, this guy was treated special and they had no backup for this idiot. So he took complete advantage of it. And he would cause these problems, Then he'd go out to lunch, things would be down, people would be running around, one of the main online systems, because we were doing bank card authorizations and stuff with these things. Oh, thank God Joe's here, he could fix it. 2 or 3 times, I'm like, this guy is causing this. Every time it's in his area. And we fired him. I had to get the guy out of there. He was really bad, but it was hero syndrome, no question about it.
Yeah, there's usually not enough of a sophistication about the problem to make it something more than something that some fire that somebody set, right? So
Yeah,
they're not going to make it so complicated that it takes them too long to solve the problem. It's going to be something real kind of easy and quick fix, a couple
yeah,
of minutes and they're done. And that's usually a tip off that, maybe
yeah.
this wasn't a real problem. This was just some manufactured problem that this person felt like I needed to be in the spotlight today, so I'm going to pick today to be my day that I create this fire. Then I can come in and save the day.
I
But
must say, in this day and age with really good change management and QA, very tight controls, these people have a lot more trouble introducing these defects
right.
into things. But they're out there and they
Yeah,
cause all sorts of trouble in other ways. It doesn't
yeah,
have to be just software.
that's right. That's right. You can have folks that really just kind of start these back conversations. So outside of the normal chain of command,
Mhm.
you're working on a project together and they start kind of a whole separate stream of activity going on just to kind of sabotage what's happening, and then come in later and say, oh, yeah, so I told Terry about blah, blah, blah. And you're like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Like, no, you really didn't.
Yeah.
So, it's just another little subtle, always
Yeah.
just something subtle, not real sophisticated about it, but just some way to sabotage so that then later they can come in and say, oh, yeah, I knew exactly what we needed to do here.
I mean, these people are classic, esteem seekers, right? They need the recognition.
Right.
And, there are many varieties of esteem seeking out there, without a doubt. So I put it in that category. Level 4 Maslow, they've got a deficit they can never fill. A lot of them are, they're very needy, very low self-esteem people. They're not getting enough recognition for whatever reason. And they can resort to some very damaging things, without a doubt. That's why you have to be on the alert for them. They're a real business
Yeah.
risk. I've seen it
Yeah.
at the leadership level too. There was one gentleman that I work with who he was like the lemming to any problem. If there was something happened, he was in there trying to find out if there was a reason he could be there to save the day. He would fly in and you really had to keep this guy corralled. I'll tell you, he was just trouble.
Yeah, because those folks end up getting in the way, right? So they're
Oh,
asking
totally.
questions that aren't relevant. They're assuming things that just don't make sense. They're adding a level of complexity to the problem that really doesn't need to be there.
Yeah. And you know how you deal with these people, right? You've got to define their role very clearly. When they're put in a role with a big title that gives them kind of leeway to interpret that title to go jump into different areas, they do it if it's this type of personality, and if they're in an area and they don't feel they're getting enough recognition for what they're doing, if it's that personality type, they will try to extend their authority out so they can, save the day in areas that are way beyond their scope of responsibility.
Right.
This individual was so annoying. Oh my God, I gotta tell you.
Yeah, you've got to really rein them in. You can't let them have too much leeway. And
No.
you really have to have some checks and balances, especially you mentioned before about change control, but really having some peer reviews
Mhm.
so that this person would have to make it they would have to make an extraordinary effort in order to sabotage things. So
Yeah.
don't make it so easy for this person to go in and make changes or do
Mhm.
things that might cause problems later. And then I think you really have to call that person out on it. You don't have to do it in a big group setting. You can pull that
Mhm.
person to the side, but as a leader, you really do have to address it. If that
Big
person
time.
seems to be the common denominator every single time, you have got to pull that person to the side and address it head on. Be
You do.
open and honest about it and hit it We have to address the elephant in the room, so to speak.
Yeah, and I would say, in terms of dealing with these people, hit it head on. Establish clear roles and responsibilities so people can't go beyond their boundaries. That keeps these people in check. The other thing to do is to, make sure that you don't put people in these positions where they are the expert, that go-to single point of failure. Those personality types will exploit those positions because they'll feel emboldened that they can't get caught, and they can create these problems because no one knows exactly what they're doing. It's very dangerous.
Right.
So these are
Very, very
self-inflicted, and those are the techniques to deal with them, I think, in the
right.
workplace.
Yeah. Outside of just smacking them. That's the other approach. Just smack them. No, I'm only kidding. I am only kidding.
Absolutely. We gotta have some fun, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's a pretty good, description of who these people are, what to do about it. Be on the lookout. They're out there. They're in the world, and that means they're in the workplace too.
That's
They're
right.
not just out setting fires.
That's right. And make sure that that person setting fires is not you.
Yeah. You're right there. 100%, without a doubt. Well, I think that's it, unless do you have anything else you
I
wanna
think
throw
so
in?
too. I think that's it.
Let's say goodbye. Don't be the hero
All
unless
right.
it's legitimate. Goodbye.
Bye bye.